The following broadcast is using the worksheet Rating of All-Time Teams, available on the ECSSL archives on the Facebook group. Welcome back. So, at ECSSL, we've been around for, this is the 11th year, and been on ESPN for 7 years. And if you've been with us for a long time, or even the last 5 years, you will see that the scoring has ranged greatly. We change the scoring constantly to better to adapt to what's happening in baseball, to maybe overscore or underscore certain aspects of the game that we think doesn't match what ESPN has scored. A very basic example is errors. Errors is something that is typically scored at a -1, but the way shifting, specifically shifting on the infield, has caused what would be at the edge range of a shortstop that might commit an error. That shortstop might not be positioned there to make that. An error is subjective, and a -1 is a big penalty to play when a significant amount of errors don't actually result in any production or win-loss of a game. It's the accumulation of them. So part of that is if you look into Yahoo or I believe CBS Sports, they have decimal pointing. That would help some of those scores, but we just deal with the system we have. Long story short, if you've been with us, you see that scoring changes greatly over the years. And specifically, it goes down. We rarely have added scoring back in or doubled up on points for something to boost up overall scoring. So comparing teams year to year is exceptionally difficult because of the average scores and average number of teams, the schedule, things like that make it kind of challenging to know which teams are the best. So at the end of last year, I got really interested in this, and I know typically we do these podcasts with Spencer and some other owners, but this was something that I'd been working on for a while, and you go online for resources, and a lot of the resources are for fantasy football, or they were the early 2000s and they're dead. They're not scalable to 16 teams over 17 weeks, things like that. So what we'll look at today is what the document and what the formula tells us, what some of the barriers are, what the components of it, and we will go over the top 10 teams. So the mission is to categorize all teams, standardize them. But that was exceptionally hard to do, as I mentioned with the scoring. So I looked at a couple different formulas, and the formula we used is a team's average score over the course of the year is multiplied by 6. The next is an addition of the highest score that team had in one particular matchup plus the lowest score, and you multiply that by 2. And then you take the winning percentage of that team, which is obviously like 0.500 or something small, multiply that by 200, and you multiply that by 2. Then you take all that and divide it by 10. What that's going to tell us is the strength of the average score, the strength of the range, and winning percentage has an impact on how good their team is. Now, the thing I liked about this formula is the average score was multiplied by 6. So the deviation is to go towards the middle, and that's the highest emphasis that is part of the formula. So I took all the teams, I put all that in. And what you'll notice is that varied greatly by year. The average scores for the different years greatly depended on what years it was created. 5 of the top averages all happened in 2013. And out of the top seven, six of them were from 2013. Behind that, four of those were from 2014. And there were a lot of things that were different in 2013 and 2014. Such as pitchers had unlimited starts, so you could stack the books so that you could have 8, 9, 10 pitchers. There's some other things. And also, roster size changed. If you were here when ESPN was first around, you would have 4 outfielders, a DH, a utility person, and then you had your infield spots, but then you also had first/third base and second/shortstop. So you had 2 additional infield spots, and it just blew up scoring, which is good. But as the league got bigger, we decreased that. We got rid of those positions because we wanted to make sure that the talent pool was still there. So I had to find a multiplier, and that made it really difficult because how do you handicap or build up points, and what are you going to base it on? Are you going to base it on each owner is going to have a multiplier of, Spencer is perennially in the playoffs, so his points are going to be decreased. So 1 point is only 0.9, and a coefficient of 0.9. Are you going to do it by team, by year, by the other variables in your formula? So it took me a while to think about it. So I kind of gave up on it at the end of last year. And I get on there this year, and ESPN had decided that you couldn't access old records and old scoring from previous years. And they had just brought this back early this week. I had sent an email early in the year. I believe I put it on the Facebook so that people could email ESPN. Well, if you did it, it worked because we got it. So I was able to finish the job. And we decided that each score in each range, the range being the high score plus the low score multiplied by 2, needed to have separate coefficients because of the disparity of specific years. And right now I'm just going to reference back. This is on the ECSSL archives, which is a link posted on the Facebook, where all of our data goes in. We don't have a real Facebook, and we've talked about it for a while, and it's something I'm kind of interested in, but we use Excel for almost everything because it's the best way to compile data. In any case, what you'll see is raw numbers, raw averages. You'll see that 2017, 2018 averages are the lowest, ranges are the lowest. And you go to 2013 and 2014, and these have these high averages. Alex Swenson's average in 2013 was 397, compared to 2018, Garrett Berg's average was 186. So we decided to find the average of every team in every year, then find the average in that specific year, and divide it to get a multiplier. And we did that separate for range and average. So what you'll see is something that I find quite amazing. And it's that 2016 matched the average the most. So it has a coefficient of 1.002 for the average, and a 1.020 coefficient for the range. And every year it goes by, that coefficient gets stronger. And last year it was 1.154. And let's put that in comparison. 2013, the scoring was so high, the coefficient for the average was 79.54%. So 100 points throughout the entire league only equated to 79.55 points in 2013. So what I did is, if you look at the Excel, average, high and low winning percentage. And the next one is the raw power rating. So the power rating is the culmination of that formula. And you'll see 2013, 2014, if you take that raw, that's going to be the highest. Next to it is the adjusted power rating. So with the quantifiers, with the coefficients. And, it really based everything down. So that way, every year, the average team matched the average team of the other years. And so, what I was going to tell you was what it doesn't tell us, and it doesn't tell us a lot. You still can't say who's on the team, or why the points were scored. But you learn a ton. I think a lot of people looked at two of the David Feller good playoff runs, specifically in 2016, when he had a winning percentage of over 82%. I think he went 12-1 to start the year. That was a powerhouse of a team. He was averaging over 300 points. And in 2016, we were still kind of using that as a metric, as a good score. But with the qualifiers, I'm going to go through the top 10 real quick. Just so you learn. What I thought I learned a lot. The best team, the number one team. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to go from 10 up because I'm suspense for suspense sake. Number 10 is my 2014 team of the Papa Smurf tribe, with a winning percentage of just about 2/3. The 309 range, or the 309 average you'll see, is about average for the top 10 teams. But that came in at number 10. Number 9 and number 8. Andy Russell back-to-back years, 2014, 2015. Note, neither one of Andy Russell's championship teams were the championship team. You'll only see 2 of the top 10 teams won it all. Now, this formula is based on regular season, so that seems very average because anything can happen in the playoffs. But it just goes to show that only, you just got to make it in the playoffs. And Spencer and I have talked about that in the past, where no matter if you do 1-week playoffs or 2-week playoffs, and the reason why we didn't do the playoff team is because the playoffs have changed greatly. If you were with us for a long time, we played 23-week leagues for a few years. And what we noticed is that the ECSSL was ending their regular season and getting to the playoffs. So that when the fantasy teams need to be at their best, the Dodgers were clinching the NL West and sitting Clayton Kershaw. So your best players were being sat while you were in the playoffs. So we cut it, we moved it up. 16 weeks is about as deep as we can get, so that through the playoffs we have the best teams, least likely to sit. So number 7 is one of the championships teams. 2014, Alex Swenson did go out for a day with an average of 322.7. He only had a winning percentage of about 2/3. And as I mentioned, with the highest scoring averages happening in 2013 and 2014, Alex won it all. He had the highest adjusted power ranking team in 2014. There were 3 teams in the top 10 from 2014, even with the coefficients, and Alex's was the best, and he actually won. Moving ahead of that is the 2017 Perkinson Jewett RIP age 30. Now, I'm just going to highlight once again, their average was only 255.9. So we were going from averages of 300 to 255.9. They had a winning percentage of about 65%. But in a year where the thing was so tough, where the scoring was so tough, they have a top 10 team. Now we're in the top 5. Top 5 and top 4 are both from 2018. Coming in at number 5 is Alex Swenson, Digonafriorite. Alex has 4 teams in the top 10. And if you talk to anybody, Alex has a way of making it in the playoffs. He has a way to make his teams really good. He has Julio Teheran. Anybody else has Julio Teheran, he's terrible. Alex Swenson has him. He's a perennial all-star. This is just last year. Saying that one of the best teams in the last 7 years, because this only captures ESPN, is Alex Swenson, Digonafriorite, a winning of 70.6%. And above him, number 4, David Feller. He won 3rd place last year. I think a lot of people viewed his 2018 team as kind of a step back. David came in the league. He did so well for 2 years. 2017, he wins it all, and we kind of view this as a step back. But David Feller's championship team isn't even in the top 15 teams of the best teams. And I don't want to get into David Feller's yearly too much, because number 3 is also David. 2016 David Feller also won 3rd place. It bookmarked his championship team with 3rd and 4th place. Now in 2018 he averaged 260 points. In 2016 he averages 301. He won 82.4% of all of his games. He gets to the playoffs and he kind of gets mowed, but top 3, what I would have thought was going to be the best, even with the scoring difference of 2016, and his schedule was pretty light. He was in a pretty low tier, but I still thought it was one of the best teams. I actually thought it was the best team. I guess it is one of the best teams if he's top 3. And then the top 2 both belong to Alex Swenson. Number 2, 2016, the champion of the ECSSL in 2016, Alex Swenson. And number 1, Alex Swenson, 2013. This team doesn't even win it all. He averages 397.3 points. He wins 72.7% of all of his games. Alex Swenson has 4 teams in the top 10. And David and Andy's, credit, they both have 2, and they haven't been around nearly as long. But in any case, you can go on the ECSSL archives off the Facebook page and look at the list yourself. Look at how many times your team made it. Look at the year-to-year averages. One of the disclaimers is there's 2 weeks I did not include in the averages or the ranges. Or I did it in the averages, but not the ranges. And that's the All-Star week, because it's a long week, and only recently have they been arbitrarily propped up by performance during the All-Star game, and also the first week of the season. With the World Baseball Classic, it was teams that, if you had St. Louis, when a lot of St. Louis players, when St. Louis opened in Australia, that would, it was the Diamondbacks, I think, that would have bumped up your numbers artificially. So the range is based on all the other weeks. The averages did include week 1 and the All-Star week. But check it out. I think what you'll learn is that the raw numbers show that the scoring changes that we have made have created huge discrepancies in comparing year to year. And I believe this formula works if your ideas and what you think you see and how you feel like it can be improved, just comment below. I'd love to hear it. And thanks everybody for listening.